And the second week of COP26 climate talks in Glasgow, Scotland, has officially kicked off with a high-level ministerial segment. In this week, environment ministers from around the world now take over the negotiations, ironing out what was left pending by the negotiators last week before delivering the final agreement. Well, NTV science editor Zainab Wandati is still in Glasgow following proceedings for us, and she now joins us live. Zainab, good to see you. What are the expectations for this week?
Well, Smriti, it was a tough week one with long hours, working very long nights, trying to complete the draft negotiating text. Now remember, these negotiations doesn't happen at the same time, everybody sitting in the same room. No, the delegates split into smaller groups and then go into separate rooms, so there are tens of meetings happening at the same time, each of them addressing a different subject. So there'll be a negotiation going on about the rights of women and indigenous women and the young people, and then there'll be another one looking at finance, another one will be looking at loss and damage, and then each of these smaller groups come up with a document that is combined to create the draft negotiating text. And this time around, and as in many other COPs, the draft negotiating text is heavily bracketed, which means that anything that the delegates do not agree on or anything that they contest, they put it in brackets in that text. And these brackets are not always a good thing, because it then gives the ministers a hard time to try and resolve the things in the brackets. So when they take over the conversations this week, they will be looking to iron out those things in their brackets and maybe even knock them off completely, and then they'll also have the opportunity to add in something else. Now the ministerial has officially started today, and today is the loss and damage day at this COP, which is a very significant day. Adaptation, the first session of the ministers is on adaptation to climate change, which is a very emotional subject for Africa, not just Kenya but Africa, because adaptation to climate change is something that the continent desperately needs but doesn't have the money to do so, and is also looking for money to be able to adapt to the effects of climate change. So I ran into CS Tobiko this morning as he was going into the ministerial, and he told me on Saturday, which was the last day of the first week, they had to work really late until 1 a.m. going over all pending issues, and then this morning they had a meeting of African ministers first before they went into the ministerial, so that they as African ministers can align their position and look at the things that really matter to the continent and what they can get out of this document. So far, the continent is not happy with the direction the talks have taken, and some activists have actually called this COP a failure, a failed COP, because the things that Africa really wants the continent hasn't been able to get it yet. But the ministers are still hopeful as the week progresses. The week is still very long, there's still many days ahead. As the week progresses, the ministers are hopeful that they will be able to at least get something for the continent, and this COP will conclude on Friday or Saturday there this week, and hopefully a deal will have been reached. I should also mention, Smriti, that President Barack Obama arrives here in Glasgow at 3 p.m. Glasgow time, which will be 3 hours ahead of you, 3 hours behind you actually here, and he'll be addressing the plenary. And some activists are not really looking forward to that address by President Obama, because they say he had his time when he was president to fix the issues of climate change in the United States, but he failed to do so, and therefore him coming here to address this plenary is more or less a slap in the face. But of course we are here keeping tabs on what goes on this day one of the ministerial. It's just about 10:15 a.m. here. The ministerial just kicked off, and I'll be updating you on how day one of the ministerial has gone, Smriti.
All right. Zainab, thanks very much for that. Interesting developments coming out of Glasgow from COP26. That was NTV Zainab Wandati, our science editor.